Hey up everybody and welcome back. Right, well, as I say, this video is slightly sort of intermission in doing this because I've got things to do which would just take too long. I'd end up working and you'd get a 5-minute video. So I'm going to be sorting things out, ready to make some videos about building the alloy tank. But in the meantime, as I say, I have another job which has come in, and we're going to do that, and I'll backwards and forwards with them. If you can hear a little humming, what do they call it? Housekeeping. Alright, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. You can hear a little humming. I've actually put the heater on this morning because it was it wasn't cold, but I put a sweatshirt on as well. I don't like the cold. Maybe it's the years in the Middle East that did it, but I do not like being cold at all. So that's what that is. The other thing is, I'm experimenting a little bit with the lighting just for this introduction, because I have all LED tubes in the workshop, which are brilliant. Just like with the cold, I don't like working in dim light. It's got to be nice and bright. But I've noticed that they particularly want to pay shines on me, so we'll see how this is. You see, now there's one of those things, you might not even see this, because if it doesn't look right, I'll delete it and then you won't know it happened. Anyway, I'm going to take this down off here to get our little job on. What is it? Well, you may have noticed in the title of the video I said a Special BSA, not a BSA Special, because this, you could say, is a BSA Special, but it is a rather special. So let's go and have a look at that. We've got a couple of little things to do on it, and then I'll take this down and we'll put it up here and do the work proper. Oh, by the way, comments on this, because there's going to be a little gap. I think I've answered most of them, but the others will go through when we come back to doing the tank on here. Alright, so let's go and have a look at this Special BSA. So, here it is. As you can see, it's in road race trim, not customised for street, but for road work. See, these Americanisms are slipping in. It's actually a genuine road racer, but not just any road racer. Now this bike belongs to a friend called Judd, who also owns the BSA Gold Star, the DVD 34 that you see in the opening titles. I restored that one for him, and that's how I got to meet him. Now Judd's well, he's retired now, but he ran a machine shop, high-end machine shop, did sort of development work for people like General Motors and that, wonderful stuff. And we sort of, this is part of the deal, if you like, the price of my mill versus the price of doing the work on this, and a little bit of stuff I had to do on the Gold Star. So what is the story of this? Well, apparently BSA America, their road race team, went to a company called Trackmaster, who build flat track frames here in the US. They're in California, I think. Long established company, famous. And they asked them to build three road race frames for the Rocket 3 engine. This is one of those three, basically, factory machines. Judd was also told when he bought it that it had been ridden at least once by a chap by the name of Dave Aldana, who probably all our American viewers will know, famous flat tracker and road racer here, and his sort of outstanding feature, if you like, visually anyway, was that he used to wear black leathers, and painted on the leathers in white was the bones, so it looked like a skeleton. So it's possible that he actually rode this. So they got a Rotnoff tank for it. I think they're Ceriani forks, I'm not sure. They're definitely made in Italy because it's cast in the top. Although the top, which could be, I don't know, just the people who make the yokes, is ARCES, which I suppose you could pronounce as arses. But anyway, the frame is an oiling frame, big spine, nickel plated, and by the looks of it, what they did was they just took a donor bike, probably off the import floor, took the engine, the wheels, various bits and pieces, and built this. Even actually the handlebar levers had the switch gear on, but simply no wires. Now, because when Judd got it, it didn't have back wheel, and it didn't have carburetors. So when I saw that they just put the standard 70s twin leading shoe front brake in, I said, well, let's assume they just put the standard back wheel in, got the right hub and everything, rebuilt it with a shouldered Barani type rim so it matches, and actually Judd's going to, how should we say, distress the back wheel so that the patina is the same as on the front wheel, because he wants to keep the bike looking just the way it is. It's not going to be restored. Got that, got the carbs. Again, we're assuming they probably just used the concentrics and just tuned the engine a little bit, who knows. So I got a set of carbs and the gantry that it goes on and everything like that. The plan is basically just to get it running. We'll run it total loss for the ignition. He's got the points and everything. There's a box of extra bits to go with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take fairing, tank and seat off and put them somewhere very safe, because the last thing I want to do is damage these, and that's why I haven't put it on the lift table, because I didn't, you know, the steering lock's restricted, it's heavy, I'm on my own. I didn't want to risk trying to put it on the lift table with all this bodywork on. So we'll take this off and then we'll have a look at it, because there's no kickstart on it. Presumably this was just bump started or push started. But it's a 3/4 inch kickstart shaft to take a cotter pin, so a standard BSA lever will go on. We can put that on to make sure the engine turns over and things like that. So that's the story behind the bike. Let's get this bodywork off and then we'll put it up there and see what's what. Might get it done in no time. I mean, if everything's fine, put the points in, connect the battery up, put the carbs on, and we might be done, more or less. There's a chain to go on it, and that's basically all. And then again, might not be that simple. So we shall see. But anyway, let's get stuck in and take these bits off. Right, well, first I'm going to take off is the tank. The seat is held on by a little bracket under here, I found out, but I'm going to have to pull it forward, I think, to lift it off. So, first things first. Chin strap here, look, which is what holds the tank on. All handmade, stitched up. So I think that should now come off. Yeah. Just a tight fit, I think. It's terrifying when you're doing stuff like this with. I did some work on a Kenny Drio and Norton once, and that had all these little hand painted, well, what looked like decals, but the owner said to me, oh no, they're all hand painted, and I had to go and collect that on the bike trailer and then take it back. I had so many straps on that bike, and I was looking in the mirror all the way here and all the way back to him, because again, same thing, if I damaged that that was basically a one-off. Alright. That's the tank. My God. Look, that's got a sort of thing you use for guide wires. Just put that over there for now. This is beautifully welded, really. And there's a little A little bit undercut, so it's definitely weld, not bronze. Alright, now this should pull forward. Actually, I think I'm going to have to take the bracket off to get it. I've already loosened it. It's just a cross piece. That's it, yeah, there we go. Alright, so that's that. It's actually got a hole in this side of the tank, of the seat. No idea that was for, and there isn't one on this side. Oh, there's something inside there. Big, hang on. Let me take you in the paint room. As you can see, it's got an alloy plate on the top. So, for a moment I thought that might be a battery, but what I saw in there was like almost like a hydraulic fitting. Anyway, we'll see what we shall see. So we're already into mysteries. It's like an off that catching slightly because of the tension of this being curved. Oh, hold on a second. Right, well, this is half an hour later. I've had a good long gossip with my friend Dick. And you'd be surprised at what is in here. I think they've just been put in for safekeeping. This is what I could see through the hole. That is one hell of a long, what's 3/4 inch stud. So we'll find out where that goes. And the other thing, now I wonder if they were using that as an oil cooler. Oh, there's the other mounting bracket for it. And that's everything that's in there. So isn't that interesting? I'll have to look to see if there's some mountings and if there's an input and output on the lubrication system somewhere. In fact, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them back in there. A, so that I don't lose them, and B, so that they don't take up space. So I'll put them back in and I'll put the top on and we'll go and take the fairing off. Right, now the fairing has a cross piece bolted on here, and then there's an extension on the inside of each fairing side with a piece of rubber hose. So I've undone the clamps. What we're going to do is push the rubber hose off so these will come off, and then it's got a nose mounting which is just 2 bolts. So although you can't see it at the front here, I've got a big blanket stuffed in between the wheel and the nose of the fairing so that the fairing won't just drop down and put any stress on anything. So I think we'll take this off because then it'll sit on the oh, that's interesting. The fairing mount was not made, or it must have broken off. Welding is absolute crap. Interesting. Okay, let me see about, I don't think I can get a socket in here. A 1/4 inch again, 1/4 inch course as well. Like somebody went to the local hardware shop. got the original road bike rev counter on it. In fact, they're carriage bolts. I suppose it makes the front streamlined. Oh, we're going to get in here for this. Excuse me. That clock's right in the way. Is the clock connected to anything? Ah, the cable isn't connected to anything. Let me get an Allen key. I'm going to take the clock off so I can get at the other bolt. Right, let's see if I can get that off. Come around this side so I'm not blocking your view. Although then I can't really get hold of the clock. No, I'm going to have to come around this side, sorry. Oh, hold on. We were all saying move the camera around, dummy. Still can't really get in there. You know, I should have taken the screen off, shouldn't I? Oh, I've got my hand stuck now. Let's do that. Let's take the screen off. We'll take the bubble off. Hang on, let me stop you while I take this off. Right. Now, I've just noticed actually, with a little a red felt tip pen, there's a mark on here at 8,500 RPM. Anybody watching got a Rocket 3? Say whether that's higher than recommended for the road bike. It seems to be stuck on the rubber or something. Is there a nut on the back of that? Why would they put a nut on the back of that? Why didn't they weld on a captive nut or thread the metal or something? Probably put this on before they put the fairing on. Okay, put that nut on the back of there. Little nuts with one of those ones with the little star washer built into it. Okay. Now then, there it is. Not even tight, just finger tight. Yeah, and they were made for these. It's got square holes in the fairing to take the carriage bolts. A couple of the mounting bolts here have little rubber washers on, some of them don't. Okay, so that's that done. Now we've got to and of course they've been on so long. I think the best thing to do with them is to cut them off to only rubber tubing. The clips out of the way. Stanley knife. screwdriver under that is bonded on more or less. Ow. Why is it doesn't matter how carefully you go when you're cutting rubber, you always sort of break through the end and your finger goes further than you expect it to, so you catch it on something. But there's that one off. This one's really stuck on. There we go. Right. I'll bring you around and show you this welding at the front. So, you see all this beautiful welding here? Look at that. Looks as if somebody used a stick welder who wasn't very good at using the old stick electric arc type welder. Tomaselli handlebars, grips, clip-on handlebars. Hang on, you can't see that. There's the little Tomaselli thing. And as I say, standard actual controls. And also, the top yoke's got the mounts for handlebars up there. So again, doesn't look they went berserk here, they just bought themselves a pair of forks off whatever they were on. I don't know, maybe on a Guzzi or a Ducati or something like that. Alright, now we've got all that off, I dare risk putting it up onto the lift table. So let me go and get the Triumph off. So here it is up on the lift table. I took the exhaust pipes off because they went below the frame, and I wanted to be able to put it on this stand so that at some point we can lift the back wheel. Talking of the back wheel, I've just been able, for the first time, to sight along the chain line, and it's spot on, so I am even more confident that all they did was put the stock back wheel in. Now I'm going to have to look up, I've got the manual and everything for these, a proper workshop manual, because I've never worked on one of these, and there seems to be, I know there's a great big shaft inside there, no idea what that is, all this space is for. There's things all over. So anyway, what I've done is I've taken this off just so I can get it out of the way and put a kickstart on there. I think that's 3/4 inch, it looks like it. Kickstart might catch on that. Let me tie that out of the way. Right, I've got that up there out the way. See these two things? They're just bolts that have been welded on there, and welded on after the nickel plating, because you can see the heat discoloration. And as for the lubrication system, there's a pipe on the back here, I don't know, 5/16, and there's one right at the very bottom of this. It's another one of these like the BSA system, where I don't know why they don't put the return so that the whole of the oil has got to go through the system. I mean, here, are you just going to keep recirculating this, Or is gravity going to mean that's moving round? Who knows? As I say, don't like oiling frame. Alright, so I've taken the spark plugs out. Here's actually it's the one off my BSA trail spike. Yep. Get a hammer. Right. Just looked in there, there's no oil in the gearbox. I can hear the pistons moving. Right, so the engine's free, but I've got a feeling there's no oil in this thing anywhere. So, you know, it all been, had the exhaust on, this plate's been blacked off with tape, this tape is on the rocker feeds, not very well, but it is on. I have no way really of looking inside this, so, I don't know. I think what we're going to have to do is put a pipe on the bottom when we get round to it. Clear piece of pipe that I can hold right up here and start filling this with some kerosene or something. I could, you know, we could fill it up. Well, see, if it's got old oil in it, then putting something in to remove any rust. Well, if it's got old oil in, it's one of these logic things, I suppose. If it's coated with old oil, then it won't have any rust. Hopefully. If it's rusted, but coated with old oil, then the oil will keep any rust proof I put in from affecting the rust. What I need is one of those endoscope things. But we're a long way away from that. God, I don't know really where to start. Let me look in the book and find out what all these things are. Hang on, let me move you around again. This side here, I know it has a triplex chain in, but that's got to be here. So I have no idea what this grip piece. This piece here comes off, and as you can see, that plate comes off. The sprocket is right here. So all of this must be clutch of some sort. It's got some very weird things on, so we're going to have to do a good bit of reading up before I start prattling around with it. But I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the bores so that I can turn the engine on. What's that in there? Oh, just a bit of plastic. So I can turn the engine over a few times, at least get a bit of oil on the piston rings so they're not rubbing dry against the cylinder walls. Alright, let me do that and let me look in the book. Right, well, it's very clean in here. The engine number is PC, which is November 69. And in here, it's got a bronze thrust washer. Oh, come on. Come out. And behind that, it's got a thrust bearing, a roller thrust bearing on this big shaft, and in here there's an outrigger needle roller bearing, chain tensioner a la Triumph, with the adjuster here by the looks of it. I don't see how that works. Anyway, I think what should be in here, as I say, I still haven't looked at the book, is the clutch operating mechanism, because that looks to me where the cable goes, and it's got those detente sort of holes with ramps, like the Triumph 500 has, like the Enfield had. I guess there's something missing. Other strange thing was it had Allen bolts in, but two of the mounting ones, one down here and one at the front, are actually countersunk. Now you'll also see here, here's our triplex chain. There's a pinion behind there driving this idler gear, which is driving that, which I should imagine is going through to the other side. So definitely got to look in the book before I say another word. Right, first thing I've got to look at is the spare parts list, and I thought I'd just show you this because it's answered a couple of questions straight away. Get the appropriate pages. Okay, so it's got an oil feed there to the main bearings. We've got to look into that. But that big cover and the empty shaft, I should have thought of this, that's where the alternator is. I suppose it threw me a little bit being on the right. Obviously, race bike doesn't need an alternator, so they've taken that off there. So that's one little worry. I noticed on the engine, the rev counter drive comes off the centre of the crankshaft, and it's a big thing. You'll see it bolted on the front of the engine cases. One thing I've always liked about the later BSA, and also apparently I think also the Triumph ones, is whenever they put a stud in, they not only, no, the Triumph I think only puts the length. They not only put the length, they put what diameter and what thread it is, which is very nice. Now then, here, it's the same one, the oil filter. Now then, there, that idler gear driving the shaft is the oil pump. Okay, so I'm hoping all of these won't need to be disturbed. Did I find anything else? Oh, here's a clutch. The clutch is in that inner part of the case. The outer part of the case has just got the primary chain, the cush drive, and that clutch is a diaphragm type clutch. There is the clutch operating mechanism. That little bit is there. I haven't really looked in the box yet, so there might be all of this stuff in. We'll pull that box out and look in a minute. The chain tensioner, by the looks of it, that's a worm. And that bolt that goes in the bottom, you probably undo the lock nut and then turn that bolt, and it's sort of rack and pinion type thing. It's a worm gear that's going to move that. And I think that's as much as I can find out from this. There's the gearbox. So, okay. Complicated isn't in it. Right, well, we both have the excitement of looking in here to see what's what. Balls. Aha! There's our clutch mechanism. Outer cover. That actually looks like a wheel spindle. Points plate. Oil feed. And there's various spacers, lots of nuts and bolts, another little cover. Various things in there, there's a circlip. But there's our clutch operating mechanism, so we're going to have, there's going to be 3 balls that go in there. Okay, thinking that probably all the bits we need are either in there or the box that's got the carburetors in. Right, here's the first main mod I've come across. See the way that plate is bolted on there? What there should be, or what there was on the standard road bike, was the 3 carbs mount on this gantry. Going to a 3-to-1 thing for the cable, and the this is all moved like that. See, there's one cable that's the throttles. This actually, of course, is the air slide. Now, they go on rubbers, which go on rubber stubs here, on bolt-on stubs here. What this plate has done, these holes here, I think you can see them, they're 2-inch centres. They're for putting the carburetors directly onto this. So I'll have to have a word with Judd, see what he wants to do there. Although we have the plate with the 3 sets of points, what we don't have is the auto advance unit, which has the points cam in it, the ignition cam in it. So we're going to have to search. I'm sure we'll be able to find one of those easily enough, probably be able to get a brand new one, but anyway, we shall see what we shall see. Probably the plate for the auto advance, the bob weights and the springs, is maybe even going to be standard Lucas, but obviously the cam lobes are going to be different for the 3-cylinder one. Okay. Now I've taken this side off just to have a look inside, same as we'll take the sort of rocker covers off to check what the valves look like. Here's the big spacing piece where the alternator went. So that and that are where the 3 studs went to mount the normal Lucas stator. Just like the 500, the 2 camshafts, the idler shaft, drive from the crankshaft, these are stamped up LL to show us that they're left-hand threads. Oops, the other thing I wanted to look at was this. Now, although we've got the plate with the points on, what we don't have is the cam, the ignition cam, and the auto advance unit. Now that would go in here on a taper with a 1/4 inch coarse threaded bolt through it. But of course we've got this thing in here which I wanted to have a look at. Now I don't know if they put electronic ignition on. The parts book unfortunately doesn't show the ignition part. From the diagram it looks as if that is as it should be, it just looks to be hollow. So I don't know if this is something that's been screwed in there and that there's a tang on the back of the sort of drive unit for the ignition. If it was Boyer Branston, it would still have a little cam on, a little taper on it to take the plate with the 2, well if it was a twin, to take the 2 pickup magnets, and then there'd be the fibre plate going in here replacing the ordinary plate that has the points on. You have a fibre plate with the little pickups on it, and then replacing the auto advance unit going in there would be a little plate with the 2 magnets on that energize the pickups and make the signal. And I'll show you what should be in there. Right, this is just out of a BSA single, but there's the thing. See this little tapered piece? There's the 1/4 inch bolt that holds it on. This is the sprung auto advance unit. Oh, just in case you've never seen, I'll explain it. That bolts on. This is the cam that opens and closes the points, which is on another plate out here. Now these bob weights are fixed at one end and they have a little spring to keep them in like that. So when the engine's just turning over slowly, they're like that. But as the engine spins faster, centrifugal force throws them out. Come on, which way out do you go? or that way. And let me take that out. If you watch this little bit here, see how the cam turns? That changes the timing. But of course we don't have the thing. See, that's about the right size to go in there. So whether this is screwed in and it's the drive, it's not the drive for a Boyer Branston, which is what I would have expected. I'm wondering when this was built. I mean, we know it's a 69 engine, but that means nothing. They could have had that on the shelf, or it could have been in another frame. Could have been in a standard bike that they were racing until they got these frames made. I did manage to find a photograph of a Trackmaster road race bike, was up for sale, but somebody put a 750 twin in it. But you could see from the picture that it was this frame. So, don't know, maybe that was one of the other three, or maybe there were actually more than three made, but who knows. Our problem at the moment is this. So let me... Right, well, while I'm trying to sort out that little ignition mystery, we'll put the clutch together, because I found all the bits for this, and in the box there was actually a clutch cable. So, first thing we've got to do is, again, the beauty of the BSA manual, I just looked and it told me what size these balls were. That bit of grease is just to hold them in place. They're 1/4 inch balls. Then that goes on there like that, and that is actually held in place by two little spring plates which are on small spacers. So then there's a locking tab that goes across. These are 1/4 inch coarse, 1/4 inch 20. That one goes on there. Then we have our spacing piece, our little spring. They go on there. And you'll notice this one is to the right of this part, this one's to the left. That's because it's going to turn this way, so they'll stay in contact. Hold on. Right, I'll just tighten these up. I won't do the locking tabs yet because I don't know what's happening, and they can be obviously just turned up at any time, as this is a very much an outer piece. So we'll put that on there like that. So we'll put the outer cover on. I've oiled that thrust bearing and the thrust washer there, and this outrigger bearing. Now that is going to go on there. This seems silly. But I've built it up on the bench because I was thinking to myself, how the hell can I hold those three balls in there trying to put this on vertically? Well, that stud on the inside isn't turning. This all seems a typically tried slash base. Well, ah! Oh, that thing will poke right through. Oh, alright. I thought that was a bit strange. Yes, that stud is turning. But it's got a screwdriver thing on. So I can put that on and put a screwdriver on. Let me put a few studs in. Now, I've only put about 4K screws in because it needs a gasket on it. The gasket broke when I took it off. It's almost like a papery one. Hang on. In fact, I would say somebody's made this gasket up. And look, there was blue silicone on the end. I don't think that's the sort of work a race mechanic would do. Come on now. Clean the threads up. No, the screwdriver's just too wide. Hang on. Right, that one seems to go all the way in. Oh, come on, don't tell me. Yeah, goes all the way through. I oiled that little bearing that's there as well. As I say, all this is probably going to... Oh, now it's going on nice and easily. Must be a little bit at the end there. This is obviously the clutch adjustment thing, but we're not worried about having it perfectly adjusted at the moment. We just want to put the cable on and make sure it will work. Okay, now then the cable. Same bloody thing, look. That should surely just go in there. This was the cable that came with it. Yeah, you see, that's about the right length. Why has it got that on? Unless this isn't the cable for that. I mean, that's always the thing when you're dealing with basket case or nearly basket cases, that certainly looks like it, but that definitely is not going to go in there. Okay. Alright, I've sort of taken the various lock nuts off. I think this is definitely the wrong cable. I've got to look in the parts book. But This piece here that goes into the case was just rusty inside. I cleaned it up and this does fit in it, but as I say, I've had to take the adjusters and everything off. Now it just fits in. But whether there'll be enough cable to get it onto the handlebar lever is another matter. That's got to go through a split thing there, and then it's actually sort of countersunk for the ball to go in. I'll get that to go up a little bit. Go on, get in there. Just not quite. It's levering that up without the screwdriver getting in the way of the ball going in. There it goes. Right, we've actually got a little bit of that. Okay, let's see if we can get it onto the handlebar lever. No, I won't go anywhere near. Doesn't show you the cable in the parts book I've got, but it does show you this piece, and all it has here is a ferrule. It doesn't have an adjuster or anything. There should be just a cable to go into it, so we'll have to order one.